Hey guys, today's lesson is going to be going over the Pythagorean theorem using the formula, adding whenever it is that you're missing the hypotenuse, and then subtracting whenever you're missing one of the legs. And then I'm also going to show you the shortcut on the calculator. So let's go ahead and begin here. It reads, to find the perimeter of the figure, finding the square root of the areas of the square. So basically, we want to find the perimeter all the way around this composite figure. It's called a composite figure because it's composed of three figures. So what we want to do is basically we want to find what are the measures of the length of each square. Well, if they give you the area, so in this case, the square root of 289, what do we get? So we go to the calculator, the square root of 289. I want you guys to go ahead and type that in your calculator. And what do we get? We get 17. So basically, the measure is 17 of this side. That means that this side is also 17. And guess what? All four sides are 17. Now, we want to know what is the measure of the sides for the bigger one. So what is the square root of 529? Go to your calculator. Press this button and this button right here. And we're going to go ahead and put the square root of 529. And we get 23. So on your notes, you want to, this is 23. And then this is 23. And I cannot put a 23 here. The reason I cannot put a 23 is because this is 17. So I know that 17 plus something, question mark, is going to equal 23, right? So 17 plus something is 23. What is this missing number? Hopefully you said that it's going to be 6. Now, how can we get this without having to guess? We'll just take the longest side on the opposite side over here and subtract the 17. And you get 6. So this is 6 right here. Okay. Now we have this square right here. We're going to find the square root of 121. So the square root of 121 is 11, 11, 11, 11. However, we almost have all the sides, right? But we're missing this side right here. So I'm going to put a question mark. Go ahead and put a question mark right there. So I can, what is this right here? Well, let's look to the opposite side over here. So this is 23, right? And I don't know what this is right here, but I know that this little section is 11. So 11 plus something is 23. Well, let's just subtract 23 and 11. And hopefully you said that you get 12. So the last thing we're going to do here is you're just going to add all of the values. So go ahead and add up all of the values. You're going to do 17 plus 17 plus 6 plus 12 plus 11 plus 11 plus 11 plus 23 plus 23 plus 17. So go ahead and add up these and see what you get. And I'm going to go ahead and pause, and then right now I'll give you the answer. All right, so the answer for this is going to be 148. So the answer is 148 units. So you just found the perimeter, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the Pythagorean theorem. So on this one right here, let's turn this off. We have a triangle, and the first thing we want to do is to find C. In order to find C, you got to look at the right angle and draw an arrow. So my hypotenuse is always across the right angle, so put a C right here. We just found it. Now, what's missing? The hypotenuse. So we're going to put what's missing is your hypotenuse C. All right, so now that we have this, the second step should be to label your triangle with your ABC. And remember, we want to go from least to greatest. So the smallest number that I see on my legs is 6. So we're going to put A. The second number is B, is my 8. And remember that the biggest number is going to be the hypotenuse. So when we're done solving, it's going to be the biggest one. All right, so the next step is to write the Pythagorean theorem. And go ahead. Let's see here. Go ahead and write the third step is to substitute 6 and 8. So we're going to go ahead and substitute. Let me just make sure that this is okay. I don't know why it's giving me this. All right, so right here, let's go ahead and substitute. So my A, according to the picture, is 6. You're going to put 6 squared. My B, according to the picture, my other leg is 8. And then you're just going to copy what we're missing. So what do you think is the next step? Well, what is 6 squared? So if you go to your calculator, we're going to put 6, and then we want to square it. So you're going to press this button right here, the X2, and we get this. Now I want you to do the same thing with the 8. 8 squared, and then press enter. All right, so 6 squared should give you 36. Plus, what are we going to put here under the 8 squared? Very nice, you put 64. All right, so we're going to copy this. Now the next step, just by looking at this, it's kind of common. The next step is to do what? Hopefully you said you're going to add, so make sure you put the little arrow here and put add. Just a little note, right? And what do you get when you add these two little guys right here? We're going to get an area of 100. Bring down your equals and your c squared. Now, in order to figure out what the c is, because look, right now there's a little 2 here. That's not my answer yet. Remember that there's no little 2? This represents the line, right, of this triangle. So this is area. We got to do the square root of both sides. So once again, what do we do? The square root of both sides. And look at the magic that happens here. You see, the thing is that the square root and the squares are opposites from each other. So this is going to cancel with this. And now you have c by itself. So what's the square root of 100? Well, square root of 100 is 10. And there's my c all alone. So this is 10 right here. And it makes sense. My smallest number is a, that's 6. And then it's 8, my b, and then c is the biggest, 10. And it makes sense. Okay? All right. We're going to move on over to the calculator strategy. So under this right here, it says calculator strategy, right? So I want you guys to write the formula. And if you notice back here, the last step that we did was the square root. So what we want to do is, after you write the formula, we're going to start with the last step. We're going to start with the square root. Go ahead and do this. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to put what's given to me, my A and my B, like this. Don't forget to square it. Under this, what I want you to do is to put the square root again, and now let's replace the letters with the numbers, right? So what am I going to put for the A here? Very good. And then what am I going to put for the B? 8 squared. All right, so after you do this, you can go to your calculator and go ahead and put this in. It's going to give you the answer. So we start with the square root. We put 6 squared plus 8 squared. And the answer is 10. It's my answer, and that's the answer that we got in the previous one, right? All right, so let's go ahead and now move on to the last example. When we're missing, let's see here. Okay, the first step is going to be to find C. So go ahead and draw an arrow and label your hypotenuse. And if you notice, we're not missing the hypotenuse anymore. Now we're missing a leg. Let's say that this is A, and let's say that this is B. So after I labeled, you can tell me what it's missing. It's missing a leg. Which leg is it missing, the B or the A? It's missing leg A. So we're going to put it here, that's what's missing. All right, to solve it, we're going to put the formula. And then when we substitute, if you notice there's nothing here, so we're just going to copy the a squared. And then, well, what's my b? What am I going to put under the b? 10 squared. And then we also know what my c is. There it is. So I'm going to put 26 squared. All right, so the next step is to, let's go ahead and simplify these two right here. So we're going to bring this little guy down. And let's find out what is 10 squared and 26 squared. So go to your calculator. 10 squared is 100. And then go ahead and do 26 squared. What do you get? Now let's go ahead and put those numbers right here. All right, so anytime you're missing a leg, if you notice, you can't add these two. So we're going to have to do something else over here. So this plus 100 equals 676. So in order to find out what this is, well, we got to subtract. So what do you get when you subtract these two? Very good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my a down. I'm going to bring down the equals, and then I'm going to put 576 right there. And we're almost done. Now you got to do something to both sides. Remember, what do we do to both sides? The square root. And remember, there's a little bit of magic that happens here. What's going to cancel? We're going to put some lines where? If you don't know, we're going to put lines on the square root and the 2. So now we have a by itself, and now we find out that the square root of 576 is 24. So that's the answer for this one. So why did I subtract in this one? Because you were missing a leg. So if you get a problem where you're missing A or B, one of these legs, you're going to subtract. In example 2 over here on this side, we added because we were missing the hypotenuse. All right, last step is a calculator strategy. Copy the formula, start with the square root, and we always want to start with the biggest number because we don't want negatives. So on your triangle, who is the biggest side? The hypotenuse. So I have to start with my C. Okay, and then we're going to subtract. So I don't want you guys to get confused. The formula is still going to have a plus because this is the formula for everything. But when you do the calculator strategy, there will be a minus right here, and we're going to subtract b squared. Now you're going to replace your c and your b with the numbers that were given, right? So you're going to get this. And go ahead and put this in the calculator. So we're going to start off with the square root, 26 squared, and then minus 10 squared. And then what should you get? And hopefully you got an answer of 24. That we already knew the answer was 24, right? It should be 24. All right, so it's going to do it for this lesson, guys. If you have any questions, please let me know.